Well, we're joined now by the Israeli ambassador to London, Daniel Taub. Ambassador, children still dying. How many people are you prepared to see die in this conflict before what the Prime Minister warns is going to be a protracted business?
We don't want to see anyone die, certainly most of all not children. And the tragedy is that this really would have been avoidable. The fact is, as you know, there have been ceasefire proposals on the table. You know, the main proposal is an Egyptian proposal supported by the Arab League, supported by the United Nations over a week ago. We didn't just accept that, but we actually implemented it. We had a day when we didn't even defend ourselves. And like today, we saw the Hamas rockets still firing. I don't think there's any doubt at all that this Shifa hospital attack, this shocking attack, was by Hamas. You know, one of the less reported facts is something like 10% of rockets fired by Hamas, that's 200 of them over recent weeks, have actually fallen not on Israel, but within Palestinian territory, injuring Palestinians like this absolutely tragic attack today.
Well, the big problem is that every time anything hits anything, everybody says it's the other side. So, I mean, that's not, in a sense, particularly helpful. The issue, surely, is making peace. And you've rejected even the American proposal. It's not often you fall out with the Americans.
The fact is, over the last few weeks, we have had 5 ceasefire proposals. Every single one of them we accepted. In fact, we didn't just accept them, we actually implemented them, including humanitarian windows. And what we've seen is that Hamas, during those periods, has not just not accepted.
Just a moment, you did actually say you did not find the American one satisfactory because it did not safeguard your security.
The fact is, the Americans are in discussion, but last night we had the Security Council.
Well, did you get them to agree to whatever you wanted?
The Security Council made it absolutely clear last night what is the proposal that's on the table, and on that we are in discussions with everybody.
The Security Council also made it absolutely clear they wanted you to cease fire now, and that came from the Pope, it came from Ban Ki-moon, it came from Mr. Obama. How many other people do you want to tell you to stop?
We are listening to them. Well, the only people that we want to stop are the Hamas, and it's very simple. Either they stop firing these missiles and attacking us through tunnels, or we are going to have to do it ourselves. We would much prefer not to have to do it ourselves, but if they continue attacking us, if they continue like today when we saw 5 more Hamas militants come out of one of these concrete reinforced tunnels built with the aid that went into Gaza coming under
you shot the lot most successfully. The fact is that in the end the weight of death, the weight of suffering is on the Gazan side,
John,
because a 21st century army is up against something which is really, frankly...
You know, and thank goodness for that. Thank goodness that democracies of this world...
Well, you have to take that into account,
Of course we take it into account. And the question isn't how much force you have, it's how you use it, which is why we are using a fraction of our force against a brutal terrorist organization that is brutalizing its own population, and today has 75% of Israelis within reach of its missiles, as you know, have to live their lives within seconds of bomb shelters. That is not a situation which any country, certainly not the United Kingdom, would put up with.
However, the imbalance is that you have this shield which the Americans have financed and you constructed and rather brilliantly invented, and they have nothing.
First of all, that's not true, John. That's not true.
Let me just complete the point. They may have these rockets, but the fact is you can defend yourselves against them.
It's not just rockets. They have miles of tunnels, concrete reinforced tunnels, built with 10% of the aid. And do they allow any of the Palestinian citizens to go down? No, because they use their civilians to protect their weapons, whereas any normal country would use their weapons to protect their civilians.
But with respect, every time one of those tunnels emerges with some Palestinian coming out of it, you shoot them dead. That's the way it happens. You've got them all watched. You've had brilliant intelligence on these tunnels. You know all about where they are.
The fact is, today, as you saw tragically, we had another 4 Israelis killed because we don't have fail-safe mechanisms for doing that. The only people that are lying between us and the terrorists who are trying to kill us are our young boys who are defending us ourselves at the moment. And to say sit still and do nothing and wait for the missiles to fly over simply is not an option.
But what the Prime Minister has clearly said today is this goes on. There is no question of peace at the moment. Absolutely none. No question of a ceasefire. You're going to go on. And I'm still asking you at the end of the day, what is the total of dead you're prepared to tolerate? Last time you tolerated 1,400. It's already up to about 1,200. So how many more have to die?
First of all, you have to bear in mind that as far as the figures that we and the international community have, there are something between 15,000 and 20,000 Hamas terrorist militants in the Gaza Strip. You know, since we pulled out nearly a decade ago, as you know well, John, when we pulled out of every inch, the fact is Hamas, instead of building a prosperous Palestinian society, instead of using the greenhouses that we left behind to create an economy, it trashed the greenhouses, has created a massive underworld network of tunnels, loaded, as we found, with UNRWA supplies, loaded with Israeli army uniforms, loaded with chloroform to try and drug Israeli soldiers, and weapons, including 12,000 weapons and rockets, including those shipped in from Iran. We have to deal with it. It's not a simple thing. We have to do it as carefully as we can.
The final words, how many more soldiers are you prepared to lose? You've lost more now than on any Gaza operation
John,
before.
I think you've put your finger on it yourself. The fact is, we know that there is a question of legitimacy in the international community. We know that we're paying a price, and we know that we're paying a price amongst our soldiers.
And a PR price at that.
And a PR price.
I mean,
and why do you
millions of people worldwide are really up against this.
I take that on board. And why do you think it is, although we know this price and although it hurts us too, why are we prepared to do that? Because we know that we are dealing with a brutal terrorist organization. We don't want this to be yet another round. We want this to be sustainable quiet for the people of Israel.
Ambassador, thank you very much indeed for joining us.